Welcome to week 2, Dynamics of Renewal. I'd like to begin with a word of prayer. Father in heaven, thank you for this evening. Thank you so much for the work of your Spirit in our lives, for the work of your Spirit through the Word. Spiritual renewal. In order for spiritual vitality to happen in your own life and in the life of the church, there are certain things that need to happen. And so today, I think all we will have time for is to look initially at what Lovelace calls the preconditions, the things that have to be in place in order for spiritual renewal to happen. And then, secondly, the primary elements, so the first few steps. And I love the way that Richard Lovelace presses in on this. If you see here, under preconditions of renewal, think of this as a preparation for the gospel. He puts it this way. There's someone talking back there that's distracting me a little bit. I'm not sure who it is. Oh, okay. All right. The apprehension of God's presence is the ultimate core of genuine Christian experience. And the touchstone of its authenticity is the believer's vision of the character of God. So what that means is that in order to begin to experience renewal, you first have to understand who God is. And unless you understand who God is, spiritual renewal is not going to happen. And it's interesting, once you see it that clearly, you will actually, I am reminding you of things that you have heard me quote quite a bit these last 3 years, one from John Calvin and then also from A.W. Tozer. John Calvin puts it this way: without the knowledge of yourself, there is no knowledge of God. Our wisdom, insofar as it ought to be deemed true and solid wisdom, consists almost entirely of 2 parts: the knowledge of God and of ourselves. But as these are connected by many ties, it's not easy to determine which of the 2 precedes and gives birth to the other. So he's saying if you want to be wise, you need to know 2 things. You need to know who God is, and you need
and conviction of the depth of our sin. Now, the sentence may seem very straightforward, but it's packed with some very important things. So, acceptance of Christ, so becoming a Christian. And the second part of that is not only becoming a Christian, but internalizing every element in redemption. In other words, everything that God has for you in Christ Jesus, you want to be able to internalize it. And that begins with two things: understanding the holiness of God and experiencing a conviction of the depth of your own sin. So those are the first two things that need to happen. And you may think back to your own first experience in discovering the truth of the gospel. One way or another, it probably had that component to it. I remember the very first time I was deeply convicted of being a kleptomaniac. I was a thief, I was a bully, and it wasn't just that I knew it was wrong, I knew it was wrong in the sight of God. And that changed